So, again, a lot of stuff happening this semester. Also, in case you've forgotten, or if you're new, I am pregnant, in case you couldn't tell. But, so, this semester, there is a lot going on, and what I am super excited about is this teaching. We're going through a series called Permission. I am so excited about this, and we'll get to more about what that exactly means later. But I tend to start off with questions just to get us back into it. You know, like you might have had breaks from classes today. It's time to think again. All right. First question I have is, who is someone that you look up to? Doesn't necessarily have to be a person of faith, or it could be like a celebrity, someone you know, I don't know. Someone you look up to. Like it's someone you connect with, or you've always wanted to get to know them more, maybe you wanted to pick their brain about something, or it could just be like a really cool person. Who is that person in your mind? Oh yeah, go for it. Your mom, Enoch. That's adorable. I love that. Yeah, who else? Who else has someone? Was that pretty quick for you to come up with?
Oh, that's my answer to anytime.
Yeah, my mom. That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah, other examples. Yeah, Rose.
She's not here tonight, but Megan Owens.
Megan Owens. Where is she? Oh, sister? Megan Owens. She's awesome. Scott. Where's Scott? Where are you, Scott? Hey, Scott. Also, welcome Scott Billsland. He's an alum. Yay, Scott. So it's awesome that he's here today. And so whoever it is for you, I want you to think of their name, think of their face, think of some of the conversations you've had with them, or would like to have with them. So just imagine this person for a second. And now try to put yourself in that place, like almost like you're trading spots with that person. So now you're in a spot where someone is looking to you for advice or wisdom or even just positive conversation. And here's another question. Does that seem attainable? Like, does that seem realistic? Or is it kind of hard for you to realize, like, oh man, I could never be like my mom. Like, she's just too amazing. You know, like it's hard, right? And for some of us, it's like, I think I could, but I'm just not sure. Like, I don't know. That's really daunting or intimidating. Like, I could never. And so, like, again, like with most questions, like there's probably a spectrum of where you are on it. And if that was hard for you, like it's probably not due to a poor imagination, and it's probably just because like you haven't recognized the chance. Not that you haven't had the chance. It's probably just hard to recognize in this stage or wherever you are in maturity. Like you're in a really strange developmental time. Like it's all over the place. Like you might not feel like you're old enough or mature enough, or like you've experienced maybe not enough life, or like, well, I've never been through anything hard, and so like I don't really have any blah, 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 whatever. Like you just might not think you're capable for whatever reason, or you think you're too awkward, and you just don't realize that you are indeed capable. Like you are able to do these things. And so tonight we're talking about discipleship and kind of with that encouraging others. And again, we're kicking off a series for the semester called Permission. I just want to pray real quick before we dive in and we'll get started. Father God, thank you for all these students that are here. Thank you for the ability to get here and like a warm building and a safe place where we can just talk about you and to you and get to know you more and what you have for us. And God, thank you for having us as part of your plan. Thank you for the way that you love us. God, I pray that we can see who we are called to be and what we can do by your power, and just be with us tonight. And it's in your name, amen. So before we get into like the discipleship part, I do want to talk about this idea of like permission first, right? So really all of us, we tend to hold ourselves back, whether it's because of those things that I mentioned before or some other reason. It's just hard time to like start things by yourself. Like, I mean, this is like a goofy example, but if I wanted like something for like $5 off Amazon, I'll be like, hey Ben, my husband, I'll be like, Ben, this thing is like really cool, don't you think? He's like, yeah, it looks awesome, get it. I'm like, yeah, but we don't really need it. He's like, just get it. I'm like, no, we don't really need to. And like, I'm really asking, but I'm not asking. Like, I'm trying to be like, oh no, it's okay. But like, I don't know, it's just hard to ask things sometimes. And sometimes you don't even need to ask, but like, that's just how we grow up. Like, we grow up with a bunch of rules, and all of a sudden you're 18, and it's like, okay, figure it out. See ya. No, you're doing it wrong. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, we aren't quite set up really well. But I want to give an example of a very normal person. Her name is Tammy Estes. Whenever I was in youth group, I was like 14, 15. So a woman named Tammy Estes, she had the coolest house out in the country. I knew other people would go, like from youth group, they would go over and swim in their pond. If you're not a pond swimmer, that's fine. I grew up in Southern Illinois, okay. But they had a rope swing that went over their pond, and they had an amazing dock and like paddle boats and all this stuff. And I kept asking her, I was like, hey Tammy, like, would it be okay if I came over sometime? And she would always say yes. Like, she's gonna be like, no, Hannah, stay away. Like, everyone else except you. But she was just very welcoming. Like, hospitality is like a huge thing for her. And I'd always back out because I was nervous to go to a group where it was like just me, right? And she finally said, Hannah, let's stop talking about it and just do it. Just come over right now. Are you free? I'm like, yes. And so like, all from like me knowing that she had like an awesome pond and like people like to hang out there, like I don't know, I really wanted to connect with Tammy, and I just wanted to hang out with Tammy Estes, and she's like 30 years older than me. And so like she's so amazing, and she has been one of the most amazing people in my life. Like, there was never a time where like I felt uncomfortable or like I was too much for her, which is something that I've always struggled with. But yeah, so just being curious, I met Tammy, and like that's where my husband proposed to me at the time, like out on their land. Like, that's where our wedding reception was. That's even where like she would come over and like she helped me paint my son's nursery whenever he was a baby. Like, just from being curious about swimming in her pond. And again, like there's just a bunch of different little things that you start to notice. Like, I was meeting with someone, and in the middle of our conversation, she was like, I'm so sorry, but like, can I go to the bathroom? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Go to the bathroom. Your body's telling you need to go to the bathroom. Like, go, please. Like, I'm so sorry. I've been like, I can't shut up, and like, go to the bathroom, please. And I'm like, okay, and I don't know, maybe I'm an overthinker, but I do think there is something to that, even of like, of course you can go to the bathroom. Like, of course you can do these things. And so, like, I don't know, and like another name of this like permission thing could be, of course you can. Absolutely. Do it. For sure. Like, done. If you need help, we're here. But yes, go forward and do this thing. You can do it. And so, I do think we all say this, like we all do this in some way. We're like, oh, I'm not really sure. I mean, I do it here all the time. But, and here's the thing, like, not only are you capable of pursuing these things, but you're actually called by the Spirit to do these things. And if you're called by the Spirit, then you're empowered by the Spirit. If you're called by the Spirit, then you're empowered by the Spirit. And can these callings be uncomfortable? Yes. Yes, they can be. But are they also incredibly beautiful and purposeful and needed? Absolutely. Like Jesus tells us that the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And you are very much a part of this harvest process. And so that's kind of an overview of what this permission deal is. And so shifting back to discipleship, looking at what it means to be a disciple, we like to look to Scripture, right? And so the actual word disciple is used in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Acts. It isn't found beyond that except for one place in Isaiah, which I find interesting and didn't dive in, but I am going to probably tonight. But it just isn't found beyond that, like the Gospels and Acts. So whenever Jesus was here and early church. But we do see evidence of discipleship elsewhere. In the Gospels, there are 12 disciples, but there are people that are called by Jesus to follow him, learn his ways, and then eventually go beyond just this circle and tell the good news that is Jesus. And these 12 weren't the only people who followed Jesus. And even within those 12, there are 3 that are closer to Jesus, James, John, and Peter. And so there's kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say like ripple effect because like they're all part of it, but like there is very much like variety, I guess is a way you could think of it, of like there's 12 and then there's a group and then there's 3 that are like close friends. And then, so that's what we've got there. And then a verse in Matthew, whenever you think of discipleship or like missions, this probably sticks out to you. You've probably heard it. Matthew 28 says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son, the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you, and know that I am with you always till the end of the age." And so, to sum this up, like just from this information, discipleship requires effort on both parts. Like Jesus isn't doing the only work. Like there's definitely a choice. Like there's a response, right? Like there's a call and response. Okay. It requires effort on both parts. And the 12 disciples, they didn't stop this Jesus work whenever Jesus ascended to heaven. Right? They saw the mission and understood because they understood Jesus. And discipleship is important. That's what we can learn from this too. And we know that because it was a huge part of Jesus' time here on earth. Like discipleship is meant to be replicated and ongoing. And again, like think of this like ripple effect. There should be a chart here. Another awesome example of discipleship is Paul. And so here, like we have this chart. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll back up. So we have this chart, right? We've got Paul, he disciples Timothy, Titus, and Epaphras. So those are like the 3 people that he's like really hardcore pouring into. But they're all like in so many of Paul's letters, there's like a list of people. And it's like, okay, weird, random, but like they're mentioned. It's not an accident. Like there's a bunch of people that entire like churches that Paul's writing to. But I want you to think of this. So this is like Paul, 3 people, and others, but they're not mentioned, and others. Paul, 3 people. Those 3 people, 3 people each. Then those 3 people each, and then 3 people each, okay? And so I did some math, which you guys should be very impressed. I'm just kidding. So if you just keep multiplying by 3, okay, I want to make sure I get this right. Okay, so by 3, you get 9. 9 by 3, 27. By 3, 81. By 3, 243. By 3, 729 people. This is what we're talking about. 729 people. 2,187 times 3. 6,561. And then times that by 3, 19,000 683. I'm not even to like 10 layers out, if you will. And if it's like, oh my gosh, okay, cool math, Hannah. Like, these are people. Like, it's not just numbers, right? Like, even that alone is like incredibly encouraging to me, and honestly has like helped me realize that like the work is not for nothing. The work is not for nothing. Okay. And so think of like timeline even. Even if, okay, so if you were to just disciple 3 people ever in your entire life, like this isn't even talking about like, oh, this semester I discipled 3 people and then blah, blah, blah. Like that's 3 people ever, right? And we know that there's more. That alone has the potential to be loving and encouraging. Wait, no, so if you discipled 3 people ever, that's what this would look like. So imagine if for 3 years each semester you discipled 1 person, just one. Each semester for 3 years, that alone has the potential to be loving and encouraging nearly 40,000 people if everyone did their part. That makes me excited and a little scared if I'm being honest, because this is simply potential. And if this overwhelms you, fine, ignore it. That's fine. I'm cool with that. If you discipled 1 person ever in your entire life, if you loved on them and they felt loved and known, and they are closer to Jesus because of your influence, which you do have, I cannot stress that enough, you do have influence. People are looking to you. Just 1 person ever, and they felt empowered to disciple someone else down the road, and they felt called disciple, it's worth it. It's worth it. There have been times where, whenever I was on leadership in my ministry, like, we talk about events and like, what went well, what didn't, and I would start getting frustrated because we would just talk about like numbers and people and like numbers, and it's like, as I just did, right? So I get it, but it's like we decided, there was a question at one point. We were passing out popsicles at a textbook rental and like giving them little flyers or whatever, like come see us at the ministry. And someone was like, well, only 1 person showed up. I'm like, I don't know, maybe we should start cheering. Like, that's still amazing. And so even if it's just 1 person, like, yes, amazing. That is just 1 person. Like, that is 1 person that Jesus deeply cares about, and so do you. And you might be the first person ever to have ever shown a person what a faithful anything looks like. You might be the only person that has been a consistent person in their life whenever everyone else has failed them and they have failed themselves. Like, if a person doesn't believe that they are good enough or that they are too much or not enough or whatever, fill in the blank, 1 person to tell you like, no, I don't think that. I think you're great. Like, do you know what Jesus thinks of you? Like, just wait. like it's worth it. And we should absolutely care about that. We should care about that, and it's important. And so and I think it's interesting, like the word disciple, like it seems kind of like old school. I don't know. Like, it seems like a very like Bible term, because it is. So like what would you say like qualifies as a disciple?
Somebody who shares the word.
Someone who shares the word. Makes sense? Friend. I like that. That's
Taking up the cross.
someone who's taken up the cross.
A doer of the word.
A doer of the word. Yeah.
Someone you're growing with.
Someone you're growing with. I like that word, with. That's good. Yeah, no, these are good. And it's interesting because I've only ever heard this, like the word disciple in like Christian circles, because again, like it's like Jesus and the 12 disciples. That's just what you hear. And I learned that it isn't exclusively like a Christian term, right? Like, so it means more like apprentice, or I've even heard like called like an intern, just to make it more like understandable and like relatable or whatever. And I also learned like disciple, yes, apprentice. Disciple does not equal Christian. So that's interesting. that's just always the context. Like, I learned that this week. That's always the context that I've heard it. But like, you could be an apprentice or disciple of crochet. Like, you could be a disciple of like watercolor, or I don't know, like longboarding or something. I don't know. Like, it could really apply to anything. So like, what is making us different? Like, to be an apprentice of Jesus. Hey, I don't know. I feel like that makes it a little bit more real to me. But anyways, here's like a real life example of what discipleship can look like. And I'm going back to Tammy Estes, because I really did not even understand that she was loving me in the exact way that I needed. Again, I met her around when I was 14 years old, which is truly one of the worst years of my life. But that's when I met her. Like, she let me come over, and she was always curious about how I was doing. Like, like, if you're gonna talk to Tammy, like, just don't even bother with like, oh yeah, I'm fine. It's like, and like, she's like, come on. I'm like, okay. I mean, people have been like tough on me, but geez, you like care and you're tough. That's really weird. And like every time that, like, whenever I was in college, every time I would come home to see my family, like, I would make a stop by Tammy's house because it was on the way. Like, she was truly legitimately interested in me. Like, I never felt like a project. I just felt cared for. She was quick to empathize. She has never made me feel less than. She's introduced me to some really awesome women who have impacted her, and even some people that have helped me, like authors and like bloggers and stuff that have like really impacted my faith, like in incredible ways. And I have life lessons that I've learned from Tammy that I could like come back next week and I'll have the entire sermon on just what Tammy's taught me. No, I'm just kidding. But like, Tammy's had a huge impact on my life just by being interested in me and loving me. She was always quick to tell me what really mattered and what didn't. She was really quick to compliment like very small things. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know like anyone would even like notice that. Okay, that's really cool. Like, I felt seen and loved, and like it was so easy for her to bring up Jesus in conversations. It was so easy. And I'm like, I don't even realize that I was learning from her. And I even learned how to do this also from her. And here's one of the best parts. Like, while Tammy is an extraordinary person, she is incredibly normal. Like, she wouldn't stand out to you in a crowd. She lives in a small town, has a family in a regular house, and she just loves Jesus. And I've never had a conversation with her where that wasn't obvious. She makes it very easy, and it's infectious, and doesn't make you feel weird or awkward or like too heavy or anything too intense. Like, sometimes even whenever you think of like discipleship, it's like, okay, so you're gonna tell me how much I deserve hell, and okay, that's what we're doing every week. Can't wait. Like, like, that isn't what it's about. Like, and like, here's also where you come in. Like, if you feel like you're just like a normal person, which is awesome, you are. Yeah, congrats. You don't need to be. You can just be normal. It's fine. Like, that's fine. And you can do this. You don't have to have any supernatural, amazing skill that you develop. You don't have to have this like amazing, groundbreaking, headlining story or anything. Like, your story and who you are is enough, because Jesus can use anything. Right? And so it wouldn't be fair to me to be like, yeah, you can do this. It'll still be like super easy. But you can do this because you are called, and when it gets hard, you can do this because you are strong. Where your strength comes from, that matters, absolutely. Can you do it in your own strength? No, sorry. But also, in a much more real way, I'm absolutely not sorry, because my goodness, how exhausting would that be? It can only come from Jesus, and it can only come from the Spirit, okay? That's where the strength comes from whenever it gets really hard. And whenever it gets tricky, you can do this because you're smart. Not on your own terms, but because if you ask for wisdom, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. If you're called by the Spirit, you're empowered by the Spirit. And God has really blessed us with a campus full of people who are searching and are at least curious. Like, that's one of the awesome things about the people that are on college campuses now. Like, there's a curiosity, and there's a hunger, and there's a yearning of what else is out there. I need help. So please take full advantage of this. And again, I can't just be like, all right, get out there. You're doing great. Good luck. And that's it. Like, there's also some practical tips. It'll be up here on the slides. I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't think about this. I also didn't do the U version. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's on the slides. So first of all, people are not projects. People are not projects. And if you treat a person like a project, they can probably feel it because it's super awkward. And like whenever I was in college, there was a traveling ministry, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like we like it's so nice to meet you. We should totally get coffee." I'm like, "Absolutely, yeah." And I was like so excited. I'm like, "I've been looking for like something. Like, yeah, let's have some like great discussion." I get my coffee. I sit down, and she goes, "So did you know that you deserve hell?" I was like, "I'm Hannah," and it was very strange. And I was like, "Yeah, but like I'm saved. Like I know Jesus." And she was like, "Oh." And I'm like, "Why are you like celebrating? That's like the best news you could have ever heard from me. Like, are you serious? Like, oh, bummer, you already know Jesus. Like, there goes my mission." It's like, oh my goodness, it was awful. And I'm like, "I think I'm just gonna go, if that's okay." And she was like, "Well, okay, have a nice day." I'm like, "Okay, good luck with that." Like, good grief, that is so weird. Like, that's just weird. Like, get to know me first. Like, come on. And so, like, whenever you think of, like, I don't know, we want to fix people. Really, we want to help people, but it comes across as, like, fixing a lot of the times. And the truth is, you're not qualified to fix a person. You're not Jesus. Hallelujah. But whenever you think of helping others, you don't need to pick someone who could really use it. Like, man, they've really been struggling. Really should disciple them. They need it. Like, we're talking about people. Like, we're talking about people with pasts and experiences and likes and dislikes. We're talking about people. We're talking about people like you, like me. Like, we are all in the same boat here, okay? All of us are walking. Some of us just need a helping hand or a cheer from afar. People are not projects. Second, be open-minded. You may not think that you're in a place to disciple someone, and you actually feel like you need to be discipled, and that's something that you've been like pursuing, and you just haven't found a right fit. And there's like a variety of ways that this can work. So me and Ben, on a weekly basis, we meet with Adam to see how things are going, see if we need anything, and just like I always feel encouraged after those. I'm still in touch with Tammy. Man, she is just like superstar of this teaching, isn't she? But so I'm still in touch with Tammy from like over 10 years ago. Oh my goodness. And like my mentor back at EIU, I've even reached out to Adam's wife, Erin, just my landlord. Whenever I was like, I knew she was a Christian, but like my landlord here in Terre Haute, I was like, "Can we get coffee, please? Like, I need something, and this really feels like I'm asking you out on a date. What do you say?" And she's like, "Absolutely." And so, but it's just like I'm pretty comfortable doing that. I understand that's not how it is for everyone. I don't try to be bold, you guys. I just am. I'm just naturally obnoxious. I'm cool with it. I also meet with so that's the people that are pouring into me. And I also meet with like 4 to 10 girls on a weekly basis, depending on the semester. Side note, if you're not part of the girls' chat, you should totally be a part of it. And if you want to sign up for like a 1-hour meeting with me, you should do that. Anyways, so, but But again, like, be creative. Like, we have all these unspoken rules about, like, or like these assumed rules about, like, discipleship or like Christian dating, and like there's just like all these rules that are actually like completely made up. Like, be creative, whatever. Like, you can do it, and if you need help with that, like, your mentor or discipler can like help you figure out what the boundaries are. And so just be open-minded. I give you permission to be creative. Third, meet them where they're at. So again, I understand that not everyone is like me. Thank you, Jesus. Like, we are all different parts of the body, okay? Like, I know I have my part, but I'm really glad for the others. But like, meet them where they're at. And so this is a conversation that I would have with someone, and this isn't like a script or anything. This isn't like a script or anything. So I'm just gonna, I don't know. Katie, I'm glad you're back. Okay, so Katie, how comfortable would you say, and this wouldn't be like, I know Katie, and this is like a little different, so like I wouldn't be saying this like to a stranger. So, but if I were to walk up to Katie, I noticed her, okay, Katie's been coming for a bit, like, but she hasn't really talked to anyone, or like maybe I've just noticed it's a little hard for her to like connect with someone. Hey Katie, like, how comfortable would you say you are with like Jesus? And you would respond with just, we're having a conversation. This is live. So how comfortable would you say you are with Jesus?
Currently?
Yeah.
Or in the situation?
Yes. Currently. Whatever is true.
Very comfortable.
Very comfortable. That's awesome. So have you like grown up in the church, or is this like a new thing that's happened?
I grew up in the church, yeah.
That's all. So where are you from?
Greenwood.
Greenwood, Indiana. Very cool. So if there was anything in the Bible that you would want to learn more about, like, what would it be? I know, right? Yeah, those were the easy questions, yeah.
I just, maybe specific books to dive deeper into and learn more about.
I dig that. That's how I am too. I'm actually currently, instead of doing, like, I wanted to do like Bible in a year over again. I've done it once, but I wanted to do it again. Actually, I think what I'm going to do, what I've done is like I'm going to do the Gospels in 30 days every month. Like, that's my goal. So if you'd want to like meet up, like, I don't know, even if it's just once, I want to see how you're doing with that. So let's grab coffee sometime. Scene. Thank you, Katie. I did not tell her that was going to happen. So like, again, it's hard to talk to people, I understand. And there are so many times where I'm like, what did I even just say? Like, okay, the Spirit was moving there. But like it's just like, but I noticed Katie, and this is actually, I did notice you whenever you started coming here. And I was curious about her, and I think even like, I came up next to you and like prayed with you. And I was like, and even during oh my gosh, I remember this. Yes, we started praying. I was like, God, thank you for Katie. I hope that's her name. Thank you for her. like that actually happened, but because like I noticed her. And again, like that's a thing that can be learned. Like just be curious about people and meet them where they're at. And what I mean about that a little bit more, sorry, that was a tangent. Thanks, Katie. But like I probably wouldn't go up to someone I've never met before and been like, hey, you want to do a Bible study through Revelation? How's that sound? And they'd be like, okay. Or I'm not going to be like, hey, do you want to have a Bible study like 3 times a week about sexuality? Like, and there might even be some of you that are like, actually, like, that sounds like really awesome. And that's cool. But there's some of you that are like, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. And you're probably texting someone as I'm talking of like, this crazy lady is like being really weird. But also, like, there's some people that works for her, that's some people that it absolutely doesn't, and that's fine. Like, but in order to meet someone where they're at, you've got to get to know someone. Like, again, whenever that whoever it was like, did you know you deserve hell? I'm like, see ya. Like, what? Okay. like meet people where they're at. Some people need different things. Sometimes you just get a feel for it. And what I mean by that is really like the Spirit does lead. And there's sometimes it's like, okay, I'm really going to go out on a branch here. Okay. Like, I mean, whenever I texted my landlord, like, that was totally so awkward, and it really was. But we had coffee, and it was great. And we've had coffee maybe like 3 times, but it's what I needed at that point. And I just needed to know that I wasn't alone in Terre Haute. That's what I needed at that point. And I didn't feel alone whenever she agreed to have coffee with me, and she met me where I was at. So, meet people where they're at. And then lastly, hold your expectations loosely and let the Spirit move. I know I've been saying that a lot tonight because I very much am for that. And Jesus is for that. Hold your expectations loosely and let the Spirit move. And I'm sorry to tell you that you will not have perfect discipleship relationships. There might even be failures, which is a really tough word. You're not a failure. The other person isn't a failure by any means. Like, sometimes it just doesn't click, and that's fine. Even whenever you look at the disciples, one of them betrayed Jesus. Does that mean that, like, Jesus didn't do his job as a discipler? No, of course not. We have choices that we make as humans, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And this is kind of where we need to redefine our expectations. Like, if you're expecting to fix someone, or if you have a very narrow thought of what discipleship should be, or you have a very narrow idea of how a person should be acting, or XYZ, whatever, if you are expecting this person to meet you instead of you meeting them, it's going to be a lot harder. I'm not going to say it's impossible because I don't like those absolute statements, but it's going to be really hard, and it's going to be emotionally draining, and you're not going to feel excited to share, to love this person. You're just not. And, and I learned something new every semester, like probably every week if I paid more attention. But this is something that I do know, both from experience and just what I've been feeling lately, is like when I finally let go of my control and my standards and my needs and start listening, the Spirit speaks. The Spirit is moving, and sometimes it's really hard for me to hear the Spirit when I won't shut up. And I don't even mean like physically. I mean, whenever my mind is so busy and so caught up in disappointment and feeling like a failure, if I'm being honest, or feeling like that I should not have said that, I should have said this, or, man, I don't know, is this even worth it? Whenever I stop and listen, the Spirit is speaking. Hold your expectations loosely and let the Spirit move. And so you guys are amazing people, like truly. Even if I don't know your name, sorry, I'm still working on it. I really do think that you are amazing people. I think this generation is amazing. I think there's something really cool that's happening here. Okay? I think you've been through a lot, and you might not feel qualified to disciple anyone. Maybe your role is to find someone in this room and ask them to disciple you. You guys are smart, you're clever, and you love each other. Because why else would you be here? I don't know, maybe that's a question to think about. Why are you here? And beyond what I think, I also know that you are loved with a love so intense and so mighty and so beautiful, because I know that God sent his Son to die for you and for me. If all you know is that you are loved and that you were bought with a bloody, intense price, that is a great starting place. That is a great place to start. God created you for good things, like good, worthy, and beautiful things, so go do them. If the Spirit is calling you, you are empowered by that same Spirit. So thank you guys for being here. That's what I have for tonight. And now we're going to do connection groups. So, everyone, okay, connection group leaders, stand. Get in your pairs and go to different places in the room. I almost used you as an example. I'm like, I won't do that.
So you make eye contact.
Not me. All right, connection group leaders, are you in your stations? Eric, come on. All right, but don't start getting into groups yet. Don't get into groups yet.